Hi guys, and welcome to Escape with Watch Reviews. My name is Steve, and today we're going to be reviewing the Baltany model S2076. I received this watch for free. I don't have to send the watch back, but you guys know the deal by now. No matter how I get a watch on this channel, I'm going to review it fairly and honestly every single time. And if by the end of this review you want to pick one of these up, I'll be leaving a link down in the video description that is to the official Baltany store on AliExpress. I'll also leave the Baltany official website down there too. The AliExpress link, that is an affiliate link, so if you use that link, you aren't paying any extra. It'll just earn a little bit of commission for the channel to help keep things running. The full retail price for this watch is $165 US. That's before any taxes, sales, coupons, or anything like that. Baltany, they do participate in the sales, so if you're patient, you can get a pretty good deal on this thing. They do currently have a $10 off coupon code, so be sure to apply that if you're going to buy it right now. The watch comes in 3 different variations that you can see here. I think this black on black is the best looking one. The white bezel, it's an interesting choice. I'm not really sure why they did that. The numerals on that bezel just kind of fade away. It just doesn't work for me. But I do really like the white dial. I wish they went with black hands on that one instead of the silver hands. I think it would have popped a little bit better. The watch case is made of 316L stainless steel. It has a sapphire crystal with AR coating, a screw-down crown, screw-down case back, 100 meters of claimed water resistance, and the watch is powered by the Seiko NH38 automatic movement. So you guys know that I love Baltany watches. I've had many on the channel. This one is a little bit different from their normal stuff, but is it still just as good as you would expect? I say we dig in, let's find out. But before we do, wearing the Watch Dives WD1682. Go see the review for that right up here. Absolutely love this watch still. Alright, first things first, our dimensions. Got a bezel diameter right at 38 millimeters, case thickness of 12.3 millimeters, 20 millimeter lug width, lug to lug of 43.3 millimeters, and on the supplied leather strap, it weighs 72 grams. So I think the size is suited for smaller wrists. It's got a really short lug to lug. The thickness is actually not too bad. 12.3. It's pretty close to about as thin as you can get an NH movement. They could have slimmed it down maybe just a little bit more, but it just appears a little chunky just because the lug to lug is so short. If they would have extended out the lugs a little bit, made them 46 or so, it might have looked a little more proportional, but I know some people are going to really appreciate the short lug to lug, and you can see there you get a nice curve down to the lugs as well. So I think for me it wears a little bit small. That was a little disappointing. I do really like the design of this watch, but sadly it just feels a little bit too small for me. But I am going to go outside right now, and I'll throw it on my wrist for you anyway. And here we are on my 7.5 inch wrist, and for me it just wears a little too small actually. I'm not opposed to 38 millimeter watches. I wear them a lot. I have some in my collection, but the short lug to lug really kind of makes this thing wear really small for some reason. And the short lug to lug also makes it look a little stumpy, as I mentioned earlier, but it does hug my wrist decently. It's comfortable, it's lightweight. I got no real issues with that, and you can see the AR coating on the crystal does a pretty good job as well. So not too many things to complain about. Just the overall size just isn't for me, sadly, because I really do like the look of this watch. And popping out in some direct sunlight, you can see here still plenty legible, no issues. I like the matte bezel insert. I think it looks excellent. Case finishing is done nicely as well. Yeah, it looks good. I just wish it was a little bit longer, surprisingly. I don't say that much, but just wish it had a few extra millimeters on the lug to lug. And here we are on a dark brown leather hem suit strap. The link will be down below for this thing. I think that actually looks pretty darn good. And here we are on a green nylon strap with one layer underneath there. This is from CNS Watch Bands, and I think that does look pretty good. What do you guys think? And lastly, here we are on a nylon strap with 2 layers underneath the watch there. It actually still sits pretty good. It seems a little chunky, but not too bad, and I actually like this color. It's kind of a dark khaki color. I think it looks pretty good. This is what I've been wearing it on mostly. All right, let's go back inside. Let's get back to this review. All right, let's talk about the case finishing on this thing. So case finishing is nicely done from Baltany. It's a fully brushed case. You can see here on the tops of the lugs there, you get nice consistent circular brushing on the top. You have a horizontal brushing on the side. Again, everything is done very nice, very consistent. I've got no issues with it. Flipping it over to the crown side here, you have a 7 millimeter screw down crown here, unsigned. I wish they would sign this thing. That's one of the things that I kind of knock Baltany on every single time, is they don't sign their crowns, they don't sign their case backs. So yeah, something that they need to work on. It is a nice big grippy crown though, so I got no real issues with that. The case itself, it's done pretty nicely. There's no real sharp edges. Usually this bottom edge right here can get a little bit sharp on some of these watches, but not the case here. It's nice and soft. Flipping it over to the case back here, just your typical screw down case back, simple notches to get a tool in there, circular brushing on it. Again, no branding or anything like that. Everything down here is nice and smooth. You got circular brushing on the bottom of the lugs as well. Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot to complain about other than the lack of branding. I like their logo. They need to embrace it just a little bit more and slap it on the crown, slap it on the case back or something. Just do something. But yeah, I do like the finishing on this thing. It's done pretty darn nice, even in between the lugs. You can see there, nicely finished. All right, so let's talk about the bezel on this thing. So the ceramic bezel insert, it is a matte finish, and you can definitely see it is ceramic. It's nicely done. All these markings here, nice, and I mean they're just filled in just perfectly, nice and crisp, and you can see the mateness of it. It looks excellent. Some people might think that this is an aluminum insert, but it is not. It is ceramic, so you're getting that scratch resistance, which is nice. The alignment on this thing is going to be perfect because it is a smooth rotating bidirectional bezel. And you can also see it is a count up bezel. So you have 45 on this side instead of on that side. So what you normally do is you rotate it to whatever time you want to time something to, and then you can see it's 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and then there. So it's kind of opposite of how a dive bezel works. This is more of a pilot's watch, not a diver's watch. So yeah, that's why they did that. I like it. I like it a lot, actually. The resistance is perfect. It's not too tough. It's not too easy. I mean, it's really, really smooth and consistent all the way around. I had no issues with that. The bezel grip, really nicely done. The finishing, the machining, it's excellent. They just did a very nice job, as they always do. So yeah, it looks great. I've got no real complaints with the bezel insert or the bezel on this thing. I'm really happy with it. All right, time to talk about the crystal. We'll test it for sapphire first. It is positive for sapphire. So as always with Baltany, they have excellent crystals. This is no different. Got clear and a reflective coating. It is a very minimal double dome crystal, as you can see there. So nice and clear, even at the extreme angles like this. Yeah, I've got no issues with the crystal. I think it's a really good one. Maybe not quite up to par with some of their other stuff, but it's still very, very nice, very clear. It keeps the dial nice and legible, and yeah, for the most part, it looks excellent. All right, getting up real close, we'll talk about the dial on this thing. So obviously I have the black dial here. You have a fully printed dial. There's no applied aspects to it at all. You have a printed minute track around the outside in that faux patina. You have your numerals inset from that chapter ring. Those are Super Luminova. They're just printed on the dial. There's not a whole lot of depth to them, as you can see here. You're trying to get up real close for you guys to show you. There's not a whole lot of depth to them, and it does suffer a little bit in the Lume shot, which we'll talk about here in just a moment. I think the handset that they chose is great, reaching right out to the minute track. They're excellent, nice and big and bold. Even the seconds hand reaching out past the minute track. It looks great. I've got no real complaints with that. The dial itself is a really cool texture there, as you can see. Very happy with the dial. Legibility is key to this watch, and they did a really good job. You have your simple water resistance rating down there, and then automatic, and then the Baltany branding there at the 12 o'clock position. Everything is done really nice. I will mention the rehout depth on this thing. It's a little thick. They could have slimmed that down just a little bit, but you know, it really hides itself well, I'll say, for the most part. But yeah, they definitely could have trimmed it down just a little bit, and I think it would have made it look a little bit more premium, but it's really not a deal breaker for me. The lume on this watch, it's not great. I'm going to pop up a lume shot here. You can see it against a couple other similar watches in the collection. The dial fades pretty quickly. The hands do hold on pretty good, and parts of the bezel are okay, but yeah, the lume on this watch is not its strong point for sure, and that's mainly down to the printed faux patina lume. I knew it wasn't going to be great, and it's not. All right, so let's talk about the movement and the crown on this thing. So the movement is the Seiko NH38 automatic movement. So it's a 3-hand movement, no date. So you don't have a ghost date position or anything like that, which is nice to see. The movement itself, it's the same as the NH35. So it's 21,600 beats per hour, roughly 40 hours of power reserve. It hacks, it hand winds. It's got a bidirectional winding rotor. It does everything you need it to do. They are cheap, they are reliable, and they're easy to replace and stuff. So no real issues with that. this is how this one has been running, plus 16 seconds, I think is what it said, and that's right on the cusp of what I consider acceptable for a watch in this price range. I'd like to see it a little bit more accurate than that one, but I'm not too bummed about it. When you have it in a big collection, it's not a big deal, but if this is going to be your one watch, you might want something that's a little bit more accurate than that. I'm kind of surprised Baltany usually does a pretty good job regulating these things, so I think the one that you're going to get is going to be a little more accurate than this one. The movement itself is operated by this 3 o'clock screw down crown, 7mm like I mentioned earlier, nice and big and grippy. The screw in and screw out action is nice and smooth. You do get a decent pop out from that NH38. First position is your hand winding. It's nice and smooth. Everything feels solid. And then the second position, we jump right into time setting. Obviously hacks the movement. No issues with the hands jumping or anything like that. The screw in action, really smooth. It's one of those crowns where it's kind of spring loaded, so it's not winding the movement while you're screwing it in, which is nice. So it just makes it kind of buttery smooth, and it's excellent. You got no complaints with that. Yeah, the movement on this thing, I wish it was a little bit more accurate, but it's still livable for me. So let's talk about the strap on this thing. So the strap is actually pretty decent. Baltany, they use the same straps for their watches. There's a black version and then there's a brown version. The brown version is not as nice as the black one. I'm not sure why, but it's just not. This black one is actually really nice, very comfortable. It's more flexible than the brown one is. The straps do taper from 20mm down to 18mm. You got clean stitching down here. You have clean stitching up here. One floating keeper, one stationary keeper. You do have a nice solid buckle here, matches the case nicely. It is finished nicely and it's signed nicely there. I am just noticing that right there. There's a little bit of a misfinish mark there, but obviously on the clasp that could have been a desk diving mark or something. So yeah, other than that, the strap is actually pretty good. I do like the black ones. They've always been more supple and comfortable than the brown ones. I'm still going to knock them every single time. At $150, I'd like to see quick release spring bars. I got a watch just recently from Bernie for, I think it was $70 or something like that, or $60, and they supply their straps with quick release spring bars. So I'm going to knock them every single time. At this point, we should be seeing some quick release spring bars on these watches. Yeah, you can already see that I've kind of mucked up the strap a little bit, trying to get these spring bars off. Just regular quick release spring bars would probably cost them next to nothing. It would make our lives a whole lot easier. So Baltany, if you are watching this, please, quick release spring bars, please. Other than that, the strap is actually pretty decent. I think if you get the black strap, you're going to be happy. If you get the brown one, you're going to be a little disappointed. So there you go, guys. That is the Baltany model S2076. It's a Hamilton Khaki Pioneer Aviation Homage, 38mm, really short lug to lug. So it wears a little bit small on my larger wrist, which is a disappointment because I do like the watch. You're getting a great crystal as always. Pretty poor lume. Really cool bezel though. Like the design. The strap is good. The movement should be more accurate than this one is for you guys. So yeah, I definitely recommend Baltany as a brand. They're excellent, and I typically have no major gripes with them other than the same thing over and over again, which is lack of branding on the crown and the case back, and no quick release spring bars on the straps. And that's pretty much it. Other than that, I think you're going to be happy with them. So yeah, I think that's it for me. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.